It's John Bowden. The Henman family have just released a new song. And when I say the Henman family, it's three of the four original members of April Wine. David Henman, who was the guitarist and vocalist, Jim Henman, their bass player and a vocalist, and drummer Richie Henman. She's So Cool is the new tune. We'll give you a link to it in the description. So I had a chance to talk to all three. We shared a lot of great memories. Most notably, they talked about why they left the band. And do they have any regrets? Henman, and Henman on Rock History Music. April Wine came together in Halifax, and it was a family affair. Brothers David and Richie Henman, along with their cousin Jim Henman, teamed up with singer-guitarist Miles Goodwin to form that original lineup. The Henman family literally fueled the dream. The brothers' parents bought them a van and gave them a gas card so they could get around. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. With lots of talent and timing on their side, the four recorded April Wine's self-titled debut album in 1971. There were 8 tracks on the album. David Henman wrote 2, Jim 3, Miles 2, and they all co-wrote a song called Wench. But it was the tune Fast Train that became a hit single, their very first. But change came quickly after the release of the first album. Bassist singer Jim Henman left the band. He was replaced by Jim Clench. And that set the stage for Mark II, as Deep Purple would call their incarnations. We'll do the same for April Wine. And that incarnation lasted for 2 albums, On Record and Electric Jewels. And it was on the latter that the band changed again. The Henman brothers left, and in came Gary Moffat on guitar and Jerry Mercer on drums. We'll get into other lineups of April Wine in later episodes. Anyone who's watching this knows that I'm an incredibly huge April Wine fan. Miles Goodwin and April Wine were my favorites. So it was strange doing this interview. It was kind of, for a split second, when I saw myself beside David Henman on top, Richie Henman below me, and across was Jim Henman, I thought, the only guy missing is Miles Goodwin. And like I said, we lost him in 2023. But he should be in my spot for that very first incarnation of April Wine. Let's talk about the new song, the fantastic Henman family, which are very close. But these are the guys who started it with Miles Goodwin on Rock History Music. Any regrets about leaving the band, and why did you leave the band first?
We split up. I don't know. I personally don't have any regrets. Probably for the same reason as Jim. I don't know. I can't speak for Jim. I was a bit of an excessive personality, and I just get the feeling if I had continued on with April Wine at that point when they became much, much bigger, I'd like to think that I would have put the brakes on. But I was, I was lucky that I couldn't afford, to drink all the booze I would have loved to have drunk, et cetera, et cetera. I could be wrong about that, but that's what's kind of stuck with me, is that I kind of got lucky at that point and had to struggle. I don't regret it. I mean, when I was young, I wanted to be a pop star. Now that I'm in my late 70s, I just want to be a musician. I mean, that's easy for me to say because there's nobody saying to me, David, you could be a 77-year-old pop star, So.
No, I never had any regrets about leaving the band because it was time to move on. David and I, that was the longest we ever kept a band together. We normally we'd keep a band together for 2 years and achieve certain things and say, okay, we did that. Let's try something. We just always wanted to try something new, and I'm still that way with music. Yeah. I'm still always looking for something new to play.
My wife and I did an open mic yesterday here at the marina where we live in Newcastle, Ontario. And this couple got up, Steve and Amanda, and the first song they did, they did it. They had come up with this arrangement for "You Won't Dance with Me," April Wine, and "That Boy" by the Beatles. Mashed them. They'd done a mashup. It was really good. It was really good because as the song progressed, they first did a couple of verses and a chorus of "You Won't Dance with Me," and then it morphed into "That Boy" by the Beatles, and then they started mashing them. So she would be singing a verse from "You Won't Dance with Me," and he would be singing "That Boy," and then they would turn it around and he would sing "That Boy" and she would sing the chorus or whatever from and then they finished it up with the part of this of where it goes into why, and one of the oh, why do I bother to try, and the other one would continue with that point. It was fascinating.
And Miles wrote that, I think he had said when he was quite young, "You Won't Dance With Me." Is that the one? Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Jim knows about this. He had taken two songs that he had written when they had Woody's Termites. One was called "You Won't Dance With Me," and another one was called "Why." There might even have been a third song in the mixture. I'm not sure.
I think it's two, David. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's right. And we used to play it at the in Woody's Tournaments.
The thing is, on the road, you deal with a lot of boredom. You're just a lot of hours of nothing to do while you're waiting to be called for the sound check. You're waiting for the show. You can't go anywhere. You can't leave town. So there's a lot of downtime on the road, and that's where I think one of the places you get in trouble. And I mean, musicians for years, I never paid for a drink. My entire 20s, I don't think I ever paid for a drink. And I mean, I lived in Montreal during the cocaine years, and people always want to they always want to share their cocaine with you. Hey, come on, buddy, let's go ahead, let's do a line. So you didn't even need the money really at that point.
Someone had sent me this morning a piece on Randy Meisner leaving the Eagles. I've talked to Randy a few years before he died, and I talked to Bernie Ledden a few years after that. But the fact that, no one ever talks about the fact that, no one ever talks about the fact that buying a house is hard if you're a musician, because getting a mortgage is not easy if you're a musician. Kenny Passarelli from the Elton John band told me, he said, "Oh God, Elton John fired me, gave me a big check, and I knew at that point," I think it was in Colorado, he said, "I knew at that point I had to buy a house." Randy leaving the Eagles, he had all this technical stuff about leaving, because you leave a band a lot of times, as you guys know, you lose your stake in the band. I mean, the first guy to leave is you, but you get residuals from songs like Bernie Ledden. I told him, I says, "How many times you can be called Bernie Leadon before the internet?" He says, "Oh, as long as the checks come in, I don't care what they call me." But leaving the band, Jim, starting with you.
That's a really good question, John, because I was just thinking about that in the last couple of months, or talking to somebody about that. And we were so naive, hey Dave?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We were so naive on a business level, even, so I don't even remember signing contracts. I don't remember reading the papers, don't remember getting anybody to look at them to see what they were really saying. But I did realize that I was now 1/4 of April Wine, of whatever April Wine was. I was 1/4 of it. When I left the band, I got nothing. I didn't sign any paper to give anybody any part of April Wine back or anything like that. I just got nothing and walked away. So, and I don't know if that's something that, I should have signed a piece of paper saying,
But early 70s, David and Richie, don't you think, guys, like early 70s, that, and being young, I don't think that would have been that uncommon.
I don't know. What happened to you guys when you left the band? Was there any sign off or anything like that?
I think we got a year
Yeah,
salary.
Yeah.
Got a year's salary.
Yeah.
But no, you didn't have to.
No, we structured ourselves. No, we structured ourselves as a company, April Wine, and we were essentially employees of the company. So when David and I left, then we had to have a financial meeting and figure out everything we've made up till that point, everything we've spent, what each of us individually is going to take away in the way of our equipment. And David and I, basically, we walked away with all our gear and the original sound system that we started out with, because we had brought that had been ours to start with. So we walked away with our gear, and we got, it wasn't a year or so. I think we got 6 months. 6 months, yeah. We kept getting paid for 6 months after we stopped playing, and that was the deal. And that was good enough for us. We kind of didn't think in those terms of, having a permanent share in the company. Our share in the company, as far as we were concerned, was only relevant while we were part of that company and performing with it. Once we left, once you decide to leave, you're walking away from that. You're saying, okay, that's, we're good, you're good, we're good. And we all agreed on that. Miles and Jimmy Clench did the same thing. When they started a new band, and they still had yet to decide they were going to call it April Wine, they were starting from scratch, just like David and I did with our next band, Silver, and after that, Dudes. We all started our new bands from scratch, but Miles, because him and Jimmy decided to continue using the name April Wine with our blessing, that gave them a little bit of a leg up. I think we probably kind of did that with that in mind, thinking let's give Miles a little kick in the arse to get him going there. We'll keep using the name because it's already got a rep that you can build on.
Yeah.
And we were all fine with that. I mean, it was the best breakup of a band ever,
Yeah. My dad gave me some after the fact advice way back when, and he said to me, I always wanted to say to you that you should operate under your own name. And here's why. I've been in a lot of bands. So has Richie. Jim, after April Wine, started operating under his own name, Jim Henman, and he's benefiting, to this day, he's benefiting from that. And here's why. Every time you start a band and that band breaks up, you're back at square one. Now, that's okay if you're 18. It might be okay if you're 24, and you might even be able to work it out when you're 28, or maybe even into your early 30s. But after a while, there's what's called something about diminishing returns. And when you're starting a new band at age 40 or 45 or 50 or even 60, for goodness sake, good luck. Good luck. So, that's good advice, actually, if there's any young musicians who are watching this interview, and if you're a singer, you're a songwriter, whatever, and you've got the drive, if you can operate under your own name and stick with that, because you're never going to break up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're never going to have to start over.
The new song, where did that come from? Is it an older song, Jim? Because I love the before you answer, I love the retro feel to it, and it's one of those tunes that just made me lower my shoulders and went, I really like this. Tell me about that.
Well, it is an older song. It's like 30 years old, and it was a jam song. When I think I was living by Martinique Beach in the Eastern Shore of Nova Scotia. I had retired from my day job and was going back into writing seriously and trying to perform and have some kind of a little career before I kicked the bucket. And I used to take the whatever I had, that Cool Edit, I think it was called Cool Edit, a little recording program, and I would set up a drum track, a little drum track, and I'd either play acoustic guitar or bass, and I would just jam. It was like fun for me. But this particular time, this song came out with that she's so cool, that just came out, and there was a little verse there, and the chord pattern was there and everything. It just happened, and I put a bass on it, put an electric guitar on it, and did things like that. But I didn't do anything with it because I was playing at that time kind of rootsy stuff, acoustic rootsy music, some blues and Delta bluesy stuff and it didn't fit in with what I was doing at that time, because I didn't know exactly where I was going. So I let it sit there for probably 10 years, and then I was out in Nelson. You and I were talking about Nelson earlier, John. I was out in Nelson visiting one of my sisters, and her son, who was only a kid then, he was about 16, he was getting into recording, and he was into hip hop, which he still is into. He's a producer out there in BC. And I said, well, geez, let's fool around with this old song that I jammed on and do it. So we did it all up, and I have a copy of it somewhere, but it's hip hop. How we made that switch, I don't know. But
yeah.
So I didn't do anything with it, of course. It was just fun. But about a year ago, I discovered it. And I said, geez, I like this song. I'm going to do something with it. So I needed, of course, a rewrite. The lyrics didn't make sense. They weren't even polished. So I I had just met a friend through Katie Kelly, who's here in Halifax, one of the CTV girls that works on the Bell Network, and she had told me she wanted me to write a Christmas song for Christmas Daddies, because Miles and I always did Christmas Daddies, and we had written a Christmas song before and released it for Christmas Daddies, and she wanted me to do it again. So I had met her as a friend through that, and her husband Josh is a producer and a recording guy. So he volunteered to do the Christmas song, and then when I thought of rewriting this one, I thought, oh, Josh would be the guy to work with on this. So I kind of got him to co-write it with me. We worked on it together, and he's the engineer and the producer on that project. That's how it came about.
No idea it was an older song.
Yeah, they're really old, 30 years old, David.
Wow.
I wanted to be about Halifax, and I went through a whole bunch of transitional things on that to try to make it feel, like you said, retro.
Yeah,
And
well, it does feel retro, but it also feels current at the same time. To me, it kind of bridges a pretty broad spectrum of styles. And
Yeah,
I can hear the elements of hip hop in there. That's sure.
there is a little. I did leave a little in.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
You had said a while ago that Miles, on some levels, didn't like to look back. Occupational hazard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is when you write the hits that he wrote, that Miles wrote. I think he got himself into situations many musicians do that have hit songs that if you're going to stay active and make money and tour and that, you're playing the same old songs, same old songs. And even I find that on my level that I play, people want to hear the old songs. They just they want to hear something that brings up memories. As you said about this tune that we've just finishing up, we're actually mixing it next week and mastering it. This tune is kind of nostalgic for me even to write about, because it's a love story in Halifax on Spring Garden Road, and on these streets that are in Halifax, and it's like it just takes me back to being a kid here in Spring Garden Road and meeting this pretty girl, and getting to know her and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that will have the same effect of people that listen to the song, listen to the lyrics, that, oh, Jesus, this reminds me of my youth. If it's older, if it's younger, then it's going to remind them of where they're at now.
When was the last time you listened to the first album, you guys?
Whoa.
I listened to
Gosh.
I listened to Can't Find the Town just recently because somebody posted it on John Wesley Chisholm, a friend of mine here. He posted it, a little story. He texted me from, I think he was in Rome, walking. He works in television and film and documentaries, and he was over there doing some work. And he was listening to Can't Find the Town while he was there. And it did something to him. He always loved that song, and it did something. And he sent me a little note about it saying how he loved this song. And I was working on a new arrangement just recently, actually, for that song. And so that's the one song I have listened to, yes. Can't Find the Town.
Haven't listened to any of my April Wine stuff in actually I call it my radio station, K103 in Gattawaga, the Mohawk station that I have on all the time. They play Fast Train every once in a while. They play Drop Your Guns, Weeping Widow, Could Have Been a Lady. They play the later stuff like all the songs by April Wine. They play. They're very strong supporters. They even play Rolling with the Times by Cruiser, which was my last single with the band from 1980. So I just, if I hear it on the radio, that's fine. That's fine for me. But I haven't. It's been years since I've actually taken either the vinyl or the CD and put it on and just actually sat and listened to it. And now that you've brought that up, I kind of think I might do that tonight or tomorrow.
It's been decades for me since I listened to that first album. One of the unique things about that first album for me is that if you go on Kate Bush's I think it's Kate Bush. You go on her website, and my two songs, Oceana and Refuge, are listed on her, and the lyrics are on there too on her website for reasons that I can't figure out. But yeah, no, it's been forever since I've listened to that.
How do you guys look at how do you look at luck?
It seems to happen when you're young. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of calls these days.
None of us are.
I think luck is, Jim referred to it a little earlier on. Four guys coming in April 1970 up to Montreal from Nova Scotia. As Jim said, very naive about the music industry. No idea what we're going to do. We're just going to go and knock on doors and try and get a record deal. And that CRTC ruling we came from one direction, and that came from the other direction, and we met in Montreal and discovered that and I don't think we realized why at first. Every door we knocked on, if they said, "Are you a Canadian band?" "Yeah." "Do you write your own songs?" "Yeah." "Come on in, sit down. Can I get you a coffee?" We thought, oh, perhaps our reputation has preceded us or something. Somebody has put the word. When these guys April Wine show up, you should pay attention. It took us a little while to realize, oh, it's the CRTC ruling. There's not enough bands writing original material to fulfill that 30% content that they need. So if you were like us, an original band, yes, come on in. What do you got? Let's hear the songs. They were desperate so that's luck. Or coincidence or kismet. I don't know. I think they're all the same.
Yeah, but those songs have stood the test of time. That's another side of that too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
No, it's true. In the end, we delivered. We did come up with the songs. A lot of bands didn't, and they vanished. They did one single, maybe even an album, and you never heard from them again. And sadly, some of them were very good bands. They just didn't have the material.
I think we make our own luck. I really believe that. I mean, any decisions I've made in life that were honest, heartfelt, and they weren't really self-centered. That's the thing. The characteristics that I take into account. The things that I do that aren't self-centered have brought out more what you might call luck than anything. It's when I have ulterior motives, or I'm manipulative, or I'm those kind of characteristics that are a little sleazy. When you do those things, when I do those things, things don't work. When I use those characteristics that make it try to, anyways, that are supposedly called a good human being. Care about other people and look after other people and do things not just for yourself, but for others too. I think that makes luck.
Remember, subscribe to our channel, click the bell notification so you don't miss anything. Comment on our videos. We always read all the comments. Share them on social media and like our videos as well. If you want to make a donation, there's a PayPal link at the very top of every one of our videos. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.